Alright, hello everyone. So today I want to talk about why I swapped from the Mayhem Berserker build to why I swapped from the Mayhem Berserker build to Berserkers Technique. So right now I have Berserkers Technique. I have Mayhem set up. So I have crit swiftness because it's pretty much all you need on Mayhem, and I have a pretty standard Mayhem setup here. So Mayhem is great if you want to have budget and want to output DPS with a little bit of risk, but little risk, and don't feel like putting a lot of effort into getting your gear optimal, because you don't need a whole lot to get Mayhem online. So what does Mayhem do if you're unaware? Well, what Mayhem does, if we look here, what Mayhem does is it says your Fury meter will reign at max. So your ult, your burst mode will always be maxed out, and it turns your burst into a power of darkness. It increases the damage that you do, your move speed, and it reduces all incoming damage you take by 65%. But when you're in it, you can only be at 25% of your max HP and cannot exceed. It cannot be exceeded even if you apply healing. So you can only receive 25% of shield effects, and you can cancel it to recover 25% of your HP, but you can't do it again for a couple seconds. So why would you want to pick Mayhem? Well, to be honest, Mayhem is pretty simple to play, and you have pretty basic synergies when it comes to engravings. So if we look at the engravings I've set up here, you can see that I have I don't have it equipped. I accidentally put Spirit Absorption. Hold on, let me take this down. Sorry, that's wrong on my part. Where'd it go? Down here, I believe. Alright, I clicked on the wrong one at the beginning of this, thinking that I had the right one. Where is it? So if we look at our engravings here, we can see that I have Master's Tenacity, which is always going to increase my damage by 16% when I am in Mayhem. So this is the flat 16% damage increase. Also, since Mayhem's basic stat gives you about 18% attack power, you can do the math. It's simple there. Next, we add a Cursed All, which is another 16% attack power. Reduces your healings by 25%, but you're not really that worried about it, considering you're basically in a full health off the green pots anyways. We run Raid Captain because we're running swiftness, and we'll get the benefit nicely from the bonus of damage based on movement speed percentage. And then Keen Blunt Weapon because we run a high crit rate. So the engravings are pretty high, and the stat distribution is pretty straightforward. You run a lot of crit and a lot of swiftness. Now you can have you theoretically should have about a 50-50 split, and this should be a lot higher. So we can go ahead and do that now. 2400. That means we need about 1200 in here. And 1200 in here. So we have a pretty 50-50 split now. And we should be moving pretty quick. Now, Mayhem is pretty budget to set up, considering, right? You only need crit, you only need swiftness, you need 2 stones, and it does its work. It's not hard to play, and you get benefits. You apply your debuff with red dust, and then you just go berserk. You just wail on the boss for easy damage. There's not much that you really have to do. Now, if you like the idea of a kind of riskier playstyle, technically this would be it, I would say. However, I have a counter argument for this. So, yes, you are at 25% HP. And yes, that is pretty low considering. However, you have a lot of pros in this regard. For example, you only need green pots. So, your healing is pretty much buffed because you only need the green pot. And if you're really worried about cursed alt taking effect, you can use the blue pots, which is what everybody else is using. But still, you can theoretically only use the green pots if you don't want to run cursed alt because you're scared of the effect. But another big thing, and one of the big reasons that I think this is actually ends up being a safer choice a lot of times and pretty easy, is you're going to end up running shoulder charge, so you're already going to get the shield. But also, since you're giving yourself a damage buff, you know, it gets pretty high. But one of the biggest things, and the reason why I personally think that Mayhem is a bit wrong and a bit easy, is the 65% incoming damage reduction. So, with Mayhem, there's pretty much never a reason for you to not be in burst mode. You get the movement speed buff, you get the attack speed buff and attack power buff, and so on and so forth. So, one of the big things, right, about this is you also get an increased crit rate while in burst mode. But one of the big things is that the increased damage taken. It's considerable whenever you think about soloing Guardians or doing general fights, because a lot of times, because you are taking so little damage, you end up just being able to tank through effects and not really learn mechanics, unless they one shot. So a lot of times, I'll be honest, when I was playing Mayhem Berserker, I would just stand in AoEs as long as I had my shield up, and I'd suffer little regard, and if I did, I used the pot and I was full health. Now, you may be saying, so, why run Berserker's Technique? Well, here's why you would want to run Berserker's Technique. So, our stats change up to a specialization of 1800 and a crit of 600. Now, you want more specialization because you're going to be building more around your specialization, your fury, your specialization, damage, and such. So basically, when you're in your alt and you do like the blood rush attack, I believe that's what it's mostly meant for. Now, engravings don't change much, but you build this a bit differently. So you only want level 1 Berserker's Technique. Now this is because the other ones after this only give 10% extra, so it's not a whole bunch. It's not a whole lot extra. In regards to like you needing to get it, because you're really only getting about 20% extra crit damage. But if you feel like that's enough incentive for you, go ahead and go for it. But you're gonna want Berserker's Technique level 1 and Spirit Absorption level 2, Grudge level 3, Keen Blunt level 3, Raid Captain level 3, and Awakening level 3. Now this build can obviously change depending on what you want to do, your needs. This is just a simple me following the max roll build right here, and a lot of what this focuses on is basically you know, entering your burst mode and going like this, and this does more damage than you end up thinking it does. So they both have their pros and their cons. I would say that right now it's almost better at this stage to go for Berserker's Technique. Now, I will argue that I think Mayhem might actually be better damage-wise and so forth. So you may be asking yourself, why would I go Berserker's Technique if the damage is less? Well, let me explain. It's not that I think the damage is less, it's that I think it's more reasonable to get. So in the current state of things, you basically need very high spec and very high crit. And then later on, you're going to need potions to basically always keep your Berserk up at all times. Now, this removes the cost for the gauge, like whenever it goes on cooldown, so you don't have to worry about that. So you can immediately start building up Fury again, and you have to set up your things for gaining Fury the most. Now, I think Mayhem works better because you're on it's much of a budget item. If you just want to go straight into it and not think about anything else and just go straight for damage, Mayhem is the easiest to do that. However, I think that Berserker's Technique is a lot more fun in my opinion. Now, here's why I personally believe that Berserker's Technique is better. You can sit at full health comfortably. You don't have to worry about being at 25%. You have higher crit and spec, so you're going to be getting this up a lot, and you technically could probably hit MVP very easily because you're building off, you're basically playing off this right here. And one of the biggest reasons is that right now, it's actually cheaper to go Berserker's Technique. So, if we go ahead and just take a look at the market here. And we filter for engraving recipes. And we do Berserker engraving recipes. Okay. Really? Let's do Berserker. So, we'll look, we see here. And you'll notice that the Mayhem books alone are more expensive than the Berserker Technique book. Now, this is a simple thing. A lot of people are playing Mayhem. Mayhem is simple. You get damage for just doing nothing. However, Berserker's Technique is not bad. It's a good alternative. You want a gameplay revolving around a burst, and you know, kind of the idea of you build up your rage, and then you would let loose of like absolute massive damage and just big procs. Berserker's Technique is the way. But if you want something a little bit more laid back, a little bit more chill, a little bit easier to do, you go for Mayhem. But you can see here, the Berserker's Techniques books, even the purple books, are going for significantly less than Mayhem. This is because a large portion of the community is following the Mayhem Berserker build. So, if you want to go budget, kind of, it's kind of weird to say that, but right now it's actually cheaper to go Berserker's Technique. Also, I just find it more fun, like I said, to build around a burst mode where you go into it and then you are popping your blood rush, your increase everything, your crit rate is increased, your crit damage is increased, and it just feels like it just flows well together. But that is just my opinion. I think they both have their own merit and they both suit a different type of player and what they're looking to do. If you're looking for budget, technically right now, in a way, Berserker's Technique is cheaper to get the books, but it's also cheaper because you only have to get it off. You only have to get it off of your engravings of items, so that works. But if you just want an easy playstyle, you can go Mayhem. Mayhem is not bad in either capacity. I don't think either are bad. I think that they each have their own merit of what they want to do, and I think that Berserker's Technique has got the burst window of just massive damage output, and Mayhem is just comfortable damage output with little risk, even though it seems more risky than it actually is. So overall, I'd give them both a very high regard, but personally, I am playing Berserker's Technique, as I enjoy the idea of going into the burst mode, and then having this big damage ability that I pop, and I want to use everything in my kit to do as much damage as possible. Now, Mayhem, like I said, is a lot easier. You statistically are probably going to do a lot better because all you have to do is just sit around in Mayhem mode and take a lot less damage. But, you know, you could argue that Berserker's Technique is actually better because of the damage output. It's a whole thing. But basically, the main difference is Mayhem, you're always in your burst mode and you're at 25% HP and you get nice damage. And then Berserker's Technique, you have a burst window where you pop your rage and you do big damage then. So Mayhem is just consistent high damage, and then it feels like Berserker's Technique is just a really big burst of damage, like a big one. But that's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but you know, a lot of people are probably going to disagree with me because a lot of people prefer Mayhem over Berserker's Technique, which is completely fine. Just a playstyle choice. But yeah, guys, I just want to give my opinion, my thoughts on everything on Berserker's Technique versus Mayhem, and why I prefer Berserker's Technique. I know that I know that I'm not the best for information. There's a lot of people out there for that. I just wanted to give my ideas. Like I said, the points and stats and the engravings were all pulled off max roll, and yeah, just want to give my opinion. Like I said, one more time, reiterating, TLDR, Mayhem is better for consistent high damage, and Berserker's Technique is good for a large burst damage, like a really high burst damage, like rage pop. But yeah, that's just my opinion, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Drop a like if you want to, and subscribe if you want to. Hope you guys have a good day. Hope you guys have fun. Hope you guys are ready for this week when the new event comes out and the new skins come out. I'll be releasing a video on that on Thursday, showing off at least what the skin I got, or showing off the new skins, the hoverboard, and the pet. And yeah. So hope you guys enjoyed, and see you guys later.